Hello and welcome to the Egg on Air live session with Santo Fortebuono. I'm Gia Mirando, Director of Marketing here at Data IQ, and I'm excited to be joined by Santo as he discusses how he's used self-service analytics via a data science platform to gain internal alignment across people, processes, and technology, allowing them to maximize efficiency, get data in near real time, and perform advanced analytics and standardized data for Lincoln Financial Group. Santo, thanks so much for joining us today.
Thank you, Gia.
So before I officially pass the floor over to Santo, I wanted to share a bit about his many accomplishments. So Santo Fortebuono has more than 25 years of fintech experience. He's currently with Lincoln Financial's Enterprise Risk Management Group and is primarily responsible for ensuring that Lincoln has a successful risk management framework, which requires fast access to quality, transparent, and ready for analytics data. His focus recently has been on promoting and educating his business partners on the power of self-service analytics. Prior to joining Lincoln, Santo was with Vanguard's Quantitative Equity Group and primarily responsible for leading a group of quantitative developers in the implementation and oversight of Vanguard's quantitative alpha model, performance attribution, and risk exposures. His team was also responsible for the implementation of Global Forensic Testing Program and setting the big data direction for the investment management group. So without further ado, Santo, I will pass the floor on to you.
Well, thank you, Gia. I want to thank everyone for signing up for this webcast. I look forward to presenting to you. I hope that you walk away with something new. Maybe take something back to your organization and implement it to make you guys more efficient. One of the things as I was preparing for this presentation, I was reflecting on my career. And all of the changes that I've seen. I've been in the workforce now for over 25 years. One of the things that stood out to me is that throughout all that time, one of the things was that, when you show people something tangible, right, rather than telling them that something's going to change or you're going to change something for them, they're more likely to adopt that change. I believe having people have a hard time seeing solutions unless they're made real. So, through all that time, it was always, either a prototype or a proof of concept or something along those lines that made it real for the end user, and it helped them accept the change. So as I was preparing, I came across this quote that really resonated with me. The secret of change is to focus all of your energy not on fighting the old, but on building the new. The quote reminded me of a story of when I was an accountant early in my career. I was an accountant, and the company had introduced Excel. And not to date myself, you guys already know that I've been in the workforce for over 25 years. But when I started, Excel didn't exist. The process that I worked on was incredibly manual. In order to transfer funds between two accounts, you needed a terminal, a bulky calculator, a stack of memos, a fax. Oops, sorry, just jumped ahead here. You needed a terminal, a bulky calculator, a stack of memos, a fax machine, and a stapler. When Excel was introduced, all that went away. The early adopters saw Excel and absolutely loved it, right? They saw all the possibilities that they could become more efficient. Others, on the other hand, didn't, right? They said, it's always the same stories, right? They said, why do we have to change? We've been doing this for years. It's working perfectly fine the way we're doing it now. And my favorite, which I've heard numerous times throughout my career, is, if it isn't broken, why fix it? So we did have this one guy on the team that, and this situation reminded me of a scene from Office Space where the employee refused to give up his stapler. He was one of the last people to adopt the new technology at the time, which was Excel. He was the last one to come on board, and basically, in the end, when we finally convinced him that Excel was a better way to go, he finally got it. He actually went as far as took the calculator, that bulky calculator, and hid it in his desk as one last act of defiance. The reason why I bring that up is, some people need more convincing than others. You're always going to run into people that will convince themselves that, the new way just won't work. They'll find a million different reasons. So my belief is that, if you focus on building the new, as the quote states, sooner or later, everyone will come on board. So before I get into the details of the presentation, I just want to tell you a little bit about Lincoln Financial, the company I work for. So Lincoln Financial has over 10,000 employees across the United States. We're always looking for the best and the brightest to join our team. If you're interested in positions that we have, you can go to lfg.com. There's a link right at the top of the page. Click on careers. It'll take you to the page with all the different opportunities. On the screen too, you should see there's a URL that actually shows the URL, which will take you directly into the career page. Just to tell you a little bit about Lincoln Financial, they've been around for over 100 years. We have a tradition of strength built on strong financial foundation. We've got a commitment to corporate responsibility and success through diversity and inclusion. And to tell you just a little bit about myself, I'd say I would consider myself like a 60 to 70% software engineer, and the rest more on the analytics side. I get to work with data scientists, actuaries, analysts who work on some pretty cool technologies. They're doing some sophisticated advanced analytics, things like machine learning, artificial intelligence. Obviously, all that stuff I can't share with you because it's proprietary, but they're working on some really cool solutions. Another project that I've been working on, which I'd like to mention, it just tells you a little bit of more about, how we try to develop our workforce. And it's, and you can search this on Google and it'll come up. Lincoln Financial partnered with the Society of Actuaries. And the goal of that project was to take our actuaries, and in some cases our analysts, and go through a curriculum with them so that they actually can learn advanced analytics, learn about machine learning, which is great for Lincoln, but it's also great for the development of our employees. So, like I mentioned, if you're interested in learning more about the opportunities at Lincoln, feel free to, go out to our homepage, click on the career link, and it'll take you actually directly to the opportunities that are available to you. So now you're probably asking yourself, why is enterprise risk management, at the forefront of promoting self-service analytics throughout the enterprise? Enterprise risk management is a corporate function, and we're responsible for providing oversight and guidance to the entire organization of 10,000 people. In order for us to provide that oversight and guidance, we rely heavily on a lot of data. The true definition of big data. We deal with extremely large volumes and lots of variety. For example, our actuarial models produce petabytes of data every month. That data needs to be transformed and enriched before it can even be used for risk. Our business partners, which we have numerous throughout the organization, send us data in many different formats. We get data in like flat files, Excel, and in some cases, we're actually getting data in Microsoft Access. It's very difficult to work with that data because it's aggregated at different levels. Doesn't have the transparency we need. Very difficult to transform it to make it useful for us. Also, many of our business partners were using older technologies to provide us with their data. They have manual processes that relied heavily on spreadsheets. The spreadsheet's extremely complicated, embedded VBA codes, sophisticated links. All that has to, that data goes through those spreadsheets before it gets to us. So it's really not a timely process. And in many cases, we end up getting stale analytics. So, for getting copies of data, we always have to rely on someone to send us the updated data rather than us being able to point to the golden source. So a few years ago, enterprise risk management looked at our processes, our data processes, to see how can we improve the data we're getting. We wanted to really prepare ourselves for the future. We looked at 3 different options. We looked at, funding a traditional IT project. The second option was embedding software engineers within enterprise risk management, more or less building a shadow IT shop. And the third one was evangelizing self-service analytics throughout the organization. So, and looking at the first option, funding a traditional IT project, that involves significant funding. We'd have to staff a team of project managers, architects, software engineers, business analysts, all across the entire organization, not to mention the business people that would also need to be involved. We looked at that solution, it was just too cost prohibitive. So then we went to we looked at the second option. Can we create an IT shadow shop within enterprise risk management to take all that data and bring it in, store it in a traditional database, and build the applications on top of it that we would need? Again, bringing in software engineers to do that, we'd have to teach them our processes and go really, it would take a long time just to go through that transition and bring people up to speed on building the solution. And again, that's another expensive solution. It was also at the time cost prohibitive. So what we did is we said, we started to think, is there another solution here, right? We know we needed to move. We know we needed to do something as we moved forward. So, we looked at evangelizing self-service analytics. We said, why are we taking in data from our business partners and translating it and storing a copy of it so that we can use it for our analytics purposes? Is it possible to take, provide a sophisticated set of tools to our business partners so that they can actually start leveraging self-service analytics themselves? Our theory was that if we can get our business partners to produce their data more efficiently, we would in turn be better off. At the time, it made a ton of sense, right? We were using the existing workforce. We were giving the tools to the subject matter experts on the data. And, it made a ton of sense back then, and it makes a lot more sense today, because now, 2 years into this project, we're really starting to see some significant benefits of going, the third route of actually taking, the third option of taking these tools and giving them to our business partners. So, how do we get the different organizations to come on board? Right? Well, what we did is we set out and built it new. There was no way we were going to walk into these business units and say, well, here's a set of tools, start using them, make yourself more efficient, so that, you can become more efficient and we can get better data. What we did is we took a step back. We actually went and we evaluated our current landscape. We looked at the tools, we looked at the technology. Then we conducted proofs of concept. Then we actually quantified our benefits, solidified our story, and now we're looking to build a center of enablement to promote, enable, and oversee self-service analytics at Lincoln. As we started by, we started by evaluating that current landscape. So we worked closely with our architects, information security, and IT, different groups within IT, to identify the tools that were available for us that the business can use. And as we went and looked at that inventory, we found pockets throughout the organization that were already using some of these tools. It's just that we didn't know about it. And they were using these self-service tools, to do things, but they were kind of doing everything in silos. So what we did is we took the list of tools, we evaluated them all against our criteria and picked the ones that we thought would work best. The biggest requirement we had, was really our tools needed to be business friendly. We knew we worked with actuaries and we worked with data scientists. They know how to program, they're pretty sophisticated technologically. But when we broadened the scope of this, we're bringing in other individuals. We're bringing in data analysts onto this platform. We're bringing in accountants. So we wanted to make sure that the business, that these tools were business friendly enough so that they could actually move forward in an efficient manner. Once we had the list of tools, we set out to do the POCs. The POCs were done on some of our most challenging data pipelines. We went and we said, okay, which processes here are the most difficult for us to, which data pipelines had the most difficult data to work with? If we can use this, if we can get the actuaries to use these tools to improve the data pipeline, then we know we have the technology we need to move forward. So the POCs, were done on the most challenging data pipelines. We wanted to prove that our recommended tool set can pretty much handle anything thrown its way. So, we actually ended up with 5 different work streams. And 2 of the work streams we did were really within enterprise risk management. We said, let's take 2 work streams, go through, so this way we can see quickly if it meets our needs. And then we can kind of use what we did there and broadcast it out to the other 3 work streams, which we focused with our business partners. So once we had all that done, we knew it was working. It worked well. The 5 work streams worked well. They were able to show some benefits. So we set out to quantify the benefits. So we were able to show that our data was becoming more standardized as they were using these tools. We were getting data in near real time from golden source. So, as they were using these tools, they were storing the data in such a place that we can actually go and get it directly. The data wasn't being put in an Excel spreadsheet or inside of a flat file and emailed throughout the organization. We were actually going directly to where that data was. So this way, as that data updated, we knew we always had access to real-time data. The other thing, another benefit that we saw, which was significant, was the maximizing of efficiencies. We literally had processes that took weeks and got them down to minutes. Another one was, we were now able to perform advanced analytics. So once the data was stored in such a place that it was stored in such a place and it was standardized and it was easy to get to, and the tools also gave us the abilities to do machine learning and advanced analytics, we found a lot of the users that would actually start playing with the data and doing advanced analytics on it and applying machine learning algorithms. We do have some really, we have some great success stories there, and unfortunately, I can't share them because of its proprietary nature. But the moral of the story there is basically, once you've got the data put in a place where it's easy to do advanced analytics on it, a lot of people will actually start doing it on their own and finding insights that we weren't able to see in the past. Another big benefit was, we realized that using these state-of-the-art technologies helped us retain and hire employees. So as we're interviewing people to come on board at Lincoln, we found that we would tell them the technologies we use. They were very excited, and they were excited to join our team. So once we quantified our benefits, then we knew we had a good story to tell, right? We went around the organization advertising what we did, which caused an influx of new users. So, where do we stand today? So, today we're actually in the process of standing up a center of enablement that will be responsible for promoting, enabling, and overseeing self-service analytics at Lincoln. Right. So if I were to tell you, as I'm speaking, if I were to tell you that we were done, I'd be lying to you, right? There's still work to do. If you were to look at the path of software adoption, right, you've got these early adopters at one end of the extreme, and then at the other end of the extremes, you've got the laggards, and in between, you've got everybody else. I'd say right now, on a timeline perspective, we're working right now with the individuals in the middle. So in order to maintain momentum, what we did is, we knew we needed to define an enterprise-wide vision for self-service analytics. It wasn't something that we had at the start of this. And we also know that we needed to create a center of enablement to drive that vision forward. So, our story isn't done yet. If I look back and think about, how we gained alignment across people, processes, and technologies, well, there's about a half a dozen or so things that I thought, that I think helped us succeed. And most of the technology, we kind of, there was also a little bit of luck involved, right? So, most of the technology was already being used in one form or another within Lincoln. Some of the gaps that we found in our technologies were there, but they weren't big. So we were actually able to leverage a lot of the previous investment spend that Lincoln had did with technology and tools. The second thing that I thought was really important was we failed fast. We reviewed our current landscape and found numerous tools with similar capabilities. We evaluated them and removed the ones that weren't a good fit without wasting too much time. Another one was, we were blessed with self-learners. The early adopters are usually, self-learners. So the people we work with, we enabled them and they pretty much took off. Right? They loved the suite of tools we gave them. They learned everything they could about those tools, and then they started making their own processes more efficient and would share those results throughout the organization. We did have a great leadership team that believed in what we were doing and helped with the messaging. The other one was creating and sharing successes. This is probably the biggest one because it goes back to the fact that you need to show people, the art of the possible. They need to see something tangible before they actually are willing to, to make that investment and change one of their processes. So creating this and sharing success stories was a big deal. So, we either did lunch and learns, which were great, but the other ones that ended up happening, which was kind of interesting, were just through hallway conversations. I'd get a phone call or an email and somebody said, I met so-and-so in the hallway. He told me that he was able to do all this cool stuff. You showed him how to do it. Do you mind spending some time with me to show me how I can actually leverage that tool set? So, as more and more people adopted our solution, they became a network of advocates. They build something new, they show it to their colleagues. They would then, build the software. They would build something new and so on. It was, it ended up being like a ripple effect. So, that's pretty much all I had from a presentation perspective. I want to thank you for listening. Hopefully you gleaned something from the deck, but I will, I'll take any questions you have at this time. Hey, Gia, I think you're on mute.
Thank you. Yeah. Well, thank you again. Let me repeat myself. Thank you so much for sharing your insights and the journey of Lincoln kind of as you navigated those waters. We see a lot of companies dealing with the challenges of people, processes, and technology and uniting those. So I'm sure a lot of folks out there have found your insights very helpful and can take back to their companies. So let me dive right into the questions. We have some good ones. So from Myra, how did you navigate the challenge of the industry being historically reliant on legacy tools and systems?
And so basically, what we did was people are attached to the tools they have, right? And, what we did is, we built something small internally that we knew could scale across the organization. Then we found the early adopters that saw what they did and they basically took that and, started to leverage it themselves. And we sat there, we promoted it and enabled them, right? So we sat next to them. I'm part of enterprise risk management, but I took the time to sit next to them and actually show them how to leverage the tools and move forward with anything they wanted to do, which helped them kind of move away from the traditional technologies.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, so a lot of walking through them step by step and being along for the journey with that. Great. So let's see, another question from Taylor. What was the most effective method you deployed to gain buy-in for your initiative among disparate teams and processes? If an organization is just starting on this journey, what is the most effective first step?
Yeah, I think the first step is actually to engage IT, right? They kind of know with, depending on how large your organization is, but they know what's available for you to use, right? Can you use the cloud for your solution? Can you use, which tools you can use? The other thing is, finding the early adopters. And I can't emphasize this enough. It's the prototypes and it's the POCs that actually get you what you need in the end, right? They're the ones that will drive change. People, I've been doing this a long time, and people need to see something tangible.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, absolutely. And another question here from Rocco. Many teams falsely believe that the alignment of people, process, and technology is something that can happen relatively quickly, when in fact it's a timely process. How long did it take your team to achieve this alignment? And as you mentioned, is it still taking place today?
Yes, it is. So the history is I was originally hired. So I've been working for Lincoln for 5 years. I was originally hired to build the IT shadow team, right? So when I came in, I looked at the landscape where we had an enterprise risk management. We had a lot of code. So it technically started 5 years ago, I would say, the thought process, because it took us 2 years to learn what the current landscape looked like, evaluate the 3 different options that were available to us. And I think about maybe two and a half years ago is when we aligned on the suite of tools that would be available to us. So I'm saying probably like 2 to 2.5 years have gotten us to, numerous a handful of organizations or many of our enterprise risk management's business partners to adopt the tools, right? So that kind of think of that as the first phase, and then beyond that would be the second phase. So we reached the point where, enterprise risk management can't go on. It can't go further with this. They can, and that's where we decided to say, we need to bring in people, and there's people on this call that immensely helped me with what we're doing. We reached out to our project manager office and said, we need help here running a program. We need executive buy-in. We need a cross-functional team that has representation from the entire organization, from the business side, so the business can speak with one voice when we look for solutions. So I'd say we're probably about 50% of the way there. We're right at the spot where we're about to get our senior executive sponsorship, broaden the stakeholders, build out that center of enablement. And the center of enablement's focus is, simple. They're going to promote self-service analytics for the organization, enable it, and there'll be oversight. So we're kind of turning it over to more of a broader program.
So definitely, I think people don't realize how long that takes. That is a very process that takes patience and time, and I'm sure getting the buy-in to tell people it's going to take more time, I think, is probably also tricky.
And the one other point, and I say this all the time, is it's I don't think it's for the faint of heart. You can't be selfish, right? Like you can't you have to approach it from an enterprise-wide thinking. We knew we had something that benefited us and it benefited our business partner, but it's the same problem throughout the organization. You've got raw data, you're enriching the data, and you're storing that data. Well, it applies to enterprise risk management because we're getting in data from across the organization, but we're not the only ones, right? There's people across the entire organization that have the same, that have the same data pipeline process. So could we have stopped and said, okay, we're done, we're happy with what we have? No, we actually said, we will fund the resources and the investment for Lincoln as a whole to move this initiative forward.
Great. As we're nearing the end of our session, are there any final thoughts you would like to leave the audience with? Any overarching tips and tricks?
You caught me off guard there. Tips and tricks for implementing and or finding alignment across the organization. A final thought. I'm very passionate about data. I've been working with data for a long time. I started out as a software engineer. I built trading systems, portfolio management systems. And through all that time, the one thing that always bothered me was every time I built something, I'd have all this data behind it, and then I'd build a screen, right? A window. So all the users, the only way they can get to the data was through that screen. And years ago, it would bother me because I'd be like, there's all this great data that's out there, but our users can't get to it because we're building a screen and they can only get it, to it from what we're building for them. The reason why I bring it up, and I bring up the reason why I'm passionate about self-service analytics, data, being able to do advanced machine learning and all this cool stuff is that, feel free to, reach out to me on LinkedIn. If you, I think I'm the only Santo Fortebuono out there. So reach out to me if you guys have any questions or anything like that. I'm always happy to share successes and learnings that we've had over the past couple of years. So thanks.
Great. So thank you again to Santo for the incredibly insightful talk today. And thanks to everyone who joined us on air. I want to take some time to invite you all to tune into our next Egg on Air live streams. So on November 17th, Arnobio Moralix will be discussing navigating the world of tech in the post-pandemic world. And Taryn Southern on November 24th will dive into using storytelling to humanize technology. And then on December 3rd, supply chain disruption from business problems to value extraction with Arnold Luang. So until then, we will see you guys on air soon.